So when Angel's model kind of became an option for us, we thought, okay, how do we get this concept into the model? And you know, their model is the guild members have to vote on it, right? And it has to go through the guild. And so there were quite a few things that we did with this model. Not sure how they would respond to war and death and guns and all that sort of stuff. Huh? Violence. And so we purposefully put elements in this story that we knew would help us, right? So first of all, when you make a torch, there's a cost to it, right? So as you're figuring out what your story is and what you want to tell, the first thing that we sort of really had to kind of narrow in was, how are we going to do this for a budget so that we can present it as a torch and not just kind of pitch to the studios? The concept doesn't cost us anything, right? And so, you know, one of the things that we would advise, right? So you really want to keep your torch at a scope that you can actually shoot.
That one didn't look cheap.
Yes, doesn't look cheap, but what story did we pick? Where does it all take place? In a foxhole, right? So we shot this whole thing in 2 days, which is a little crazy. But we chose a story that could be in a foxhole, right? And then so that we know we need to get the production value. So one thing is, you've got to figure out what your story is and how you're going to pay for it, right? Because you got to do a torch, and so you got to pick a story. Well, this is the concept we had, but we needed to pick a story that was going to be affordable, that we could actually shoot to kind of sell the idea, right? Many of the stories that we're going to tell beyond the torch are going to be much bigger, and they're going to be a lot more elaborate. And so we picked this story because it takes place in a foxhole, and then one of the elements that really works well with the angel audience is, at least right now, is sort of that Christian themed story. So I'll let Fletch speak to that angle.
Well, that was part of the genius in picking this particular story, was that it came imbued with that religious aspect. It was part of why we picked it, because we knew that that would be something that would be likely to get into the guild. And it just so happened that Gino Merli really did say those things. He really did do those things. He did tell his buddies to take me to the church after the next day. And so all of it was real, and it was kind of like, oh, this is perfect. This is going to be, if we can just figure out how to tell this war part on a budget, the religious part was kind of already there. And so there's two aspects to this story that we knew we could kind of control and help push through the guild. And the first one was that patriotic message. Guild members tend to be very, very patriotic. And so if you can pull that lever, that seems to be one of the things that they like. And then the other one is that religious side. So if you can control those two levers, you can kind of get a pretty good handle on the guild, at least from a high sort of perspective. And so we spent a lot of time crafting that story around not being overtly religious, but just having enough in it that it made it feel like, oh, okay, this is a good message. Some of those things can be overdone very rapidly, even for guild members. And so there is a point at which you can push, but you can't step over in both of those aspects, both religiously and patriotically. You can overdo both of them. And for those of us who are patriotic and are religious, it's really easy to go overboard, right? Because that's what you like. And so you have to know how to pull that back and where the audience is that you're shooting for, especially in this case, the angel audience, knowing where their audience is, their sensibilities are, their tastes. And if you can dial that in, which isn't easy, and under some circumstances at Angel, we've known lots of people who've had to go back and recut and recut and recut and try and resubmit. We've been super lucky. We didn't have to resubmit any of ours.
And one of the things that I would say to that is this series not every story is going to have that element in it, right? Not every story that we tell will be patriotic, but not every story is going to have that religious element. And that was not our goal for this series. We didn't want it to be an overly, it's not every story is going to be religious and that sort of thing, but we felt like as filmmakers, these are stories that we want told and that we want to tell. And we want the next generation to understand the freedoms and the sacrifices that have happened so that we have the freedom that we have here, right? That's our goal. That's Gary Sinise's goal. And so one of the things that we're going to do is, so this was the torch. We're actually going, now that it's gotten through, one of the things that we're going to do is this is going to be the pilot. So we're going to expand it to 40 to 60 minutes. This will be the pilot. Because one thing that you should know about the angel model is that, so the torch goes through, you get approved, right? You go out and make the pilot. You have to send the pilot through the guild. So your investors have to pony up whatever it's going to cost to shoot the pilot. And so we're picking the same story to have those same elements. The same people won't be watching it. So it's a bit of a risk that we've been sort of dancing with our financiers that are going to finance this show, right? And so, but the one thing that we wanted to kind of let you all know is that once you get the pilot through, that goes out to I don't know how many guild members. They won't tell us. Say it's 50,000 guild members. That pilot goes through, maybe it's 10,000 guild members. That pilot goes through, then that same microcosm of people that approve the pilot now will look at every episode and approve or disapprove the episodes, right? So critical to understand that, because once we've got them hooked, now we can tell other stories that maybe don't have as much of that religious aspect to it. And I mean, these will all be patriotic, but we want to slant that pilot just a little bit more in this direction, so that every episode that comes after that has no problem getting through, because it's the same audience and they want to see it get through. So from pilot to episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Whatever your season is, the percentage of getting through the guild after the pilot is 93%, right? So your risk drops substantially, right? As long as you're true and faithful, you're true to what you've made, right? We can't go off and make a movie about whatever for episode 2, right? But you kind of have to remain faithful to that theme. But anyways, just so you know, and then the remaining 7% get through the guild after submitting it more than one time, right? So you can go back with the model, you can re-edit and submit, right? So your investors don't get freaked out like, oh my gosh, every episode has to pass. If we can get the pilot through, we can, you can get the rest of the season through pretty easily.
So, and when you're dealing with investors who aren't familiar with the angel model, it can be difficult to try and describe how that works, because it's so radically different from anything. If they have any history whatsoever in financing Hollywood films, all of this is radically different. And so it's not an easy thing to try and convince them. It's gonna be okay, we're gonna get through the guild. We've done this, it's not as big as maybe it might appear on paper, but it's oftentimes hard to get them over that hurdle.
So I'll speak to one other element. While I'm speaking to that other element, Fletch, you'll be thinking about another element to talk about, okay? So one of the other elements that's important for the guild is you need to have, well, maybe it's not so important for the guild, but it's important for the studio, right? Because a torch can get through, but the studio can choose to distribute or not distribute, okay? So that element is production value, right? It has to be shot in a way so that the studio feels, okay, these filmmakers, they know what they're doing. We'll sign a distribution agreement with them, and will commit to distribute their property. We've seen torches go through that maybe are a little more schmaltzy and whatever, I don't know. They're just, but the production value is not there. Soar through the guild, but they don't get through the studio, right? The studio has the right of refusal. And so you really want to make sure whatever torch you're making, it's got to look good. It's got to look like you know what you're doing. Because the guild isn't that educated to that, and they'll pick some story just because it's great and it's super religion, whatever it is. It'll soar through the guild with a 90 whatever score, yet it won't get picked up. And then you've gone and spent all the money to make the torch, but it doesn't have the production value and it doesn't get distribution. So that's something you gotta be super careful of. So now, our story, just to give you kind of a window inside, we knew that we could find some stock footage of larger battles with Germans. And so we knew that we could take our scope from that foxhole and start to make it bigger and feel grand. So the shots of the soldiers coming towards us, those were all real. We had real special effects. Fortunately, we have some connections in the industry. We brought in the special effects team from Mission Impossible. So they're friends of ours. So we had real explosions. We had tracers. We had all kinds of things. We added stuff in visual effects. But anything that's kind of beyond that zone is stock footage that we licensed and we cut in to really make it feel bigger and make it feel the tanks. We didn't have tanks. The tanks rolling. That's all stock footage. All that stuff you can do as long as it feels like it's part of your torch in the torch, right? Now, if you're going to leverage that torch into the pilot, you need to make sure you can license that footage for whatever the distribution is going to be downstream. So don't get yourself in trouble there. But so what we licensed in perpetuity for all platforms and everything, so that we had that footage licensed, so that when this becomes an hour long versus 15 minutes, we're okay. But we did take that cheat. I mean, there's production value there, like you said, and it's pretty intense. And we shot some crazy stuff, and we shot off a lot of rounds, which were $1 a piece every time one of those goes. Yeah. And shows you who the creative guy is. Oh, they're really that much? Sheesh. Yeah, Fletch, it's expensive. Anyway, so that's an element, right?
Yeah, it looked really good.
So, yeah, so we spent $130,000 on the torch. So it's not $20,000 because we had a real crew, but shooting 2 days, we had how many German extras? No, there was more than that. Yeah, that was it. Well, we made it look like a lot more. Yeah. So there were a lot of elements that cost, World War II costumes are expensive and that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we did was we reached out to a reenactment group, had them come out. We were going to pay them little. They came with kitted out and uniforms and everything. They weren't the best actors, but we worked around it. So anyways, production value, important. Not so important for the guild, but important for the studio. They want to know that the filmmakers are capable and can pull off the season. Fletch.
So I'm curious, in the audience, how many people have submitted to Angel? Have you guys, so a couple of you have? Okay, that's interesting. I don't know how your experience was with it. Mine, I'm gonna jump forward to the submission process.
Okay, sure.
There's always a bit of, even when we have something in the can that you're like, okay, they're gonna love this. This is gonna work really well. And you submit it and you kind of think to yourself, well, I don't know, man. Maybe there's always this moment of doubt, like, I don't know, maybe it's too violent, or maybe this one has too much paranormal stuff in it or something, you know what I mean? And you spend the first time watching the reviews coming in going, are you kidding me? This audience is so stupid. I can't believe they can't see it. And you do, you kind of, you watch those first reviews coming in, and it's pretty frustrating. It's just not finding an audience. And then something happens. I don't know if it's those first people in or what, but something happens, and it starts to climb back up, and it starts to crawl, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute, here it comes. There's people watching it now. And the last one that we submitted was called Mystic Hollow, which was a story, sort of a Stranger Things meets Stand By Me kind of a thing, and meets Poltergeist, which, looking back, even now I'm kind of going, I'm a little surprised that one made it through. But what was interesting about it was they have this chart. I don't know if you haven't submitted it, you probably don't know, but they have a lot of like controls. They didn't in the early days, but they have a lot of controls now where you can kind of see how people are reacting to the film, at what points, and then they have this chart where it has this gray sort of band, and it shows you where the average torch is being watched, when they're falling off, when people are starting to drop off. And this last one that we submitted was really interesting to me because I looked back at all our other ones, and we were like right in the middle, probably, of that bar with all the other ones. Our scores were much higher, which was, it just baffled me. Our scores were higher on the other films overall, but they were lower in this sort of average view time where people drop off. And then we had this film that, like I said, Mystic Hollow, and it came out well above the average, yet its score was lower than all of our other pictures, which was really strange. But what it means was people who liked it really liked it because they stayed watching it longer than the average. It was well above the average, like almost 10 points above the average when people would just leave. But the actual score of the film was lower, which is like, it was such a strange place. So I say all of this to help you understand that when you're going through the judging process, don't overreact. I always do, every single time. Don't overreact. It will kind of find its place where it wants to live, and it will kind of go there. And every time, I can't tell you how many times Chet and I have gotten on the phone and, dang it, I can't believe these people and blah, 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 blah. And in the end, you come out going, actually, it kind of worked. Like, the system kind of did what it's designed to do, which is shocking. We always have advice for the angel guys too, like what you need to do afterwards, you know. And the truth is they've probably thought of all this stuff way before we ever did. But
I think we've given a few tips.
maybe we've given a couple of ideas, but overall, keep a level head, because at the end of the day, it kind of works itself out. And if it doesn't, there's like how many times, I don't know, maybe you guys don't use focus groups, but if you do screen tests, right, and you bring all these people in to watch your movie, it usually costs a lot of money to do focus tests. That's essentially how we look at the Guild. Here's a free focus test. Usually it costs tons of money. This one's free. And these are average people. Like in Hollywood, you'll go to the movies, and a lot of times you'll be in the lobby and they'll say, hey, you want to see a free movie? And they're trying to get you to come in and see a movie, and they won't take industry folks. If you're in the industry, you're gone. They don't want you. This is literally the focus group you want to watch your movie, and it's free. So even if that's all you got, download all of those comments, because it's really great content.
Well, because like on Christmas Pageant, we did several of those focus group, and they cost us between $60,000 and $75,000 a viewing, whereas you're getting it for free here. So the last piece that I'm going to speak to, and then we'll kind of open it up to questions if you have questions or what have you, is the stories you pick. Pick the stories that you're passionate about, right? Not just ones that will fit the model for Angel, right? And I think the knee-jerk. Yeah, but the knee-jerk response is let me try and find something that's going to really fit in that niche, and I'm going to tell this story, and maybe that niche is what your stories are going to be anyways. But my goal, and it's the plea to all of you, right, that are going to future, my goal is to take Angel's audience and really broaden Angel's audience, right? And so Fletch and I, we have taken stories to them that aren't necessarily the niche audience stories, and we've been able to get them through, right? So we have a series with them. It's called Quitters. Okay, it takes place in a rehab center, right? It's a drama comedy. Not quite what you would think for Angel Studios, right? But it's going to be kind of the heart of Ted Lasso meets the grit of the bear minus all the F words, right? And so that's a story of ours that we were passionate about, but not necessarily thinking that it's right down, the line of what Angel would be. So anyways, so I think it's really about telling your stories in a way, you don't have the language in it, you don't do those sorts of things, but I think the audience does respond positively to good ideas, right? And so don't be afraid to put good ideas out there, okay? The last thing that I'll say is, just so we kind of understand the Angel audience so that you don't get caught off guard. So you make a torch, which costs you money. You submit it to the guild. They may approve it, they may not. So you might have lost all that money. If you can recut it, and you can recut it as many times as you want and submit it, maybe you can get it through, right? So there's a bit of a risk there for you, putting money out, not getting your torch through. Next risk, you get the torch through, you have to go out and raise money for the pilot. Like I mentioned earlier, you got to raise money for the pilot. It still has to go back to the guild, where it may not go through, right? So there's a risk to your investors. The risk diminishes, as I mentioned, after the pilot gets through, and then the rest of the episodes, right? But you, in the Angel model, you as filmmakers are responsible to bring in the financing. So it's like, well, what is Angel offering, right? Well, if you've pitched a lot of ideas in Hollywood, you realize really quickly that there is no direct path to get your show made. Whereas this model, though there are quite a few hurdles, some of them kind of high, there is a direct, you do this, you can get this. You do this, you get this. You do this, you get that. Well, we can all complain as filmmakers. They're claiming to be a studio, but they don't provide financing. They're just a streamer, right? Okay, yeah, whatever. Maybe that's true. But what the positive of that is, it's really a chicken and the egg, right? Okay, I want to get distribution. Well, to have distribution, you got to have cast in it or major directors and all this sort of stuff, so you can't get that, right? So then, I'm going to go get financing. And what does financing say? Do you have distribution? So the one thing that the Angel model does for you is it allows you to jump through these hurdles, and you can lock your distribution. Getting a picture made or getting a series made is all about putting a package together. And that package grows as you go and as you go. And the more elements that you can put in that package, right? So our Quitters, our goal is to have, we're friends with Russell Brand. We want to put Russell Brand in as the rock star that runs the drug rehab center, who is a former addict. I don't know if you know Russell Brand. He's a little off the wall, right? So we're kind of packaging that, right? We'll package that. And then we got distribution lined up. Now we've gone out to financing. And the financing looks at it and goes, oh, you have distribution locked. Yeah, we do have distribution locked, but here are the risks, right? Be clear with them. But we also have this talent. Well, the talent gets locked because you have distribution locked, right? So Angel is actually doing, though as filmmakers and we're struggling to raise money and trying to get all this done, you're thinking, what good are you guys? Well, it actually, if you look at it, it's a huge piece of the puzzle that you can now go out to put your package together to get your film or your series made. So I challenge you to think of it that way versus, we're all the best filmmakers in the world. We're the next Spielbergs. We're the next Ridley Scotts. You should just be opening your checkbook. To this is a piece of the puzzle that that I can use to my advantage to get in. There's some cost, there's some risks, but it helps me put my package together.
They love filmmakers, right? This isn't just a movie studio. is they really like filmmakers, and you become partners with them on a project. So whereas you make a movie in Hollywood, a gentleman that we've made movies with before in the past, Jerry Mullen, who produced Schindler's List and all these wonderful films, he did Rain Man, which is an amazing film. And it's gross right now, it's something like $500 million, 500 million, something like that. And he has points on the back end of that picture. Take a wild guess how much money he's seen from that.
The budget of the film was 28, I think, million.
Those are pretty good odds. 28 million, $500 million gross. Yeah. Any guesses how much Jerry's probably made off of that?
29.
Nothing. Not a penny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's Hollywood. That's Hollywood for you. Whereas Angel, they share their revenue with you.
From the get-go.
From the very.
It's gross. There are a few things that they pull out. There's some marketing things, but it's like Facebook ads.
And there's a cap on it.
And there's a cap. So they don't take a distribution fee. It's a 70-30 split.
To the filmmaker.
You get 70.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if you get a project made with them, you're going to make more money than you ever thought you would in
As
Hollywood.
a filmmaker, you have creative control. Final
That's
say.
true.
They don't. I mean, if it doesn't get through the guild, then you screwed it up.
Now,
Yeah.
did it shift to whether you got more control? Has that shifted to that in the last couple of years?
No, it's always
No.
been that.
It's always been that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, okay, question. Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. It's just a longer run, right? So you're going to go raise the money, you're going to go write it, make it, and come back. Here you go. And the guild says, yay or nay. If they say nay, you go, okay, let's go back, we'll retool. Just the way you would with a movie studio. It's no different. The executive's going to go, well, we really feel like you need to have more F words in this. You know, that's what Hollywood's version, right? So
Make films and not have to have that mega A-list lineup.
If I had to do this all over again, and I've been doing this for 35 years. What's that? Oh.
You don't want to just hear me? My words are a little bit more wise.
He's got more gray than I do in his beard. If I had to do this all over again, and I've been making movies for 35 years, I would not wait. Angel is your answer. Like, keep submitting. If you don't get one through, keep cutting it. Keep working on it. If you believe in it, that's where the passion comes from, right? The passion is what gets us through from that, oh, I didn't get it. Keep going. If you really believe in the project, keep going. Because if you can appeal to that group, the guild, they're not movie executives. They don't really have an agenda, yeah.
They're everybody. Like if
Yes.
subscription, I'm the guild.
Yeah, you're the
You
guild.
are the guild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Subscription's $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
You get all their movies.
exactly.
You can vote on any movie you want to.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now there are lots of people that will poo-poo Angel's model. Oh, my friend submitted. I even have a friend that submitted his movie. He got his movie. It went in the theaters. Didn't get the attention he wanted. Okay, there's negativity, right? But don't let that get you down, right? Somebody's gonna say, "Oh, the model sucks. It's this or that." Do it for yourself. Figure it out. Go try it, right? Work the model. I mean, I guarantee you, we've been in Hollywood for 30 plus years. We haven't seen a better model that works for the filmmakers, right? When it comes to the split, when it comes to the control, when it comes to you being able to make your movies. Okay, they're not the bank. They're not going to go write your check. Well, I got news for you. You're not Steven Soderbergh.
They might be so.
Okay? They might be, yeah. Go ahead.